Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Gung Ho Guns here. I hope you're having a great weekend so far. So it seems New World has added a couple of weapon changes that we didn't even notice until just right now. I have tried some of the weapons out and I got to level 30, and then when I started kind of looking over each of the weapons, I noticed a few changes. They moved a few things around, so I'm gonna highlight each of those so you guys are better informed for when the game does come out. Also, if you guys are looking for people to play with when this game does eventually come out here in the next couple of weeks, please consider joining Mando. I'll link the Discord community in the bio. We are going to be here day one as well. You are more than welcome to join us. We are going to be having a lot of fun with this game. One final plug-in here. I promise I am grinding to 10k subs, and I would very much appreciate it if you guys would hit that subscribe button. Only, of course, if you enjoyed the video. Thank you again for watching, and let's get into it. All right, let's kick things off with the Greatsword. So on the Onslaught side, I did not notice any changes. It looks like it's all the same. It feels the same as well. However, on the Defiant side, it seems they made a few changes. Not only did they move things up and down, like for example, the Calamity counter is actually up one, and the Roaring Rupture, they moved it down below one. So they kind of switched that up just a little bit. On top of that, the one big change that I noticed here is that if you look right here for the Roaring Rupture, as soon as you get the Purifying Roar in the original game, and I'll put that on screen for you guys, you could actually choose if you wanted to get, Intimidating Roar or Adaptive Rupture, and you don't have to worry about it, right? You could either do one or the other. In this game, as you see right here, you actually have to get Intimidating Roar to get to the Adaptive Rupture. As in the previous, you could choose one or the other or both if you wanted. Very interesting. All right, continuing with Sword and Board. They actually changed quite a bit on the Swordmaster side. If you look right here on the left, previously it was the reverse stab. They have completely changed to upheaval, and it does 200% weapon damage, while the previous reverse stab did 175 with a 20-second cooldown. This also has a 20-second cooldown, but it does more damage, and ability has grit. They really changed this around a little bit. That's the only change that I noticed on the Swordmaster side. Everything else seems to be the same, except again, they changed the full ability here. On the Defender side, they moved things around a little bit. So if you look right here, this Shield Bash, they actually moved this up one and pushed the Shield Rush down one as well. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting how they did this. Definitely want to see how this actually plays out fully when the game does come out. All right, going now with the Rapier. From what I see they did is that they just flipped things around in both Blood and Grace. So for example, the Flurry and the Tando got switched over, and Tando got moved one down. But apart from that, everything else seems to be the same. I did go over all of them. I did not see a difference in how much each of them do. It just seems that they kind of rebalanced where it was and then just flopped them over. Going over to the Gray side, same thing here. They actually moved this move all to the top, and they pushed the Evade towards the middle. The other thing that I noticed also in the Evade option, all the way on the bottom, after for you to breathe in, used to be an option where it was the very end. They just kind of moved it to the left, so it kind of became one of those that is still optional. So again, from what I've seen, they didn't really touch Rapier that much. They just kind of put one or two of the moves up and down, and they just flip-flopped them, where it is on the tree. But apart from that, I didn't see any other difference that they did. All right, going over the Fire Staff, the Fire Mage, and the Pyromancer, they actually did quite a bit here. They changed how some of the abilities work as well. Let's start off with the Fire Mage. And again, if you look on the very top here, just really quick, the Pillar of Fire, they actually moved that down one, and they put the Clear of Mind passive that used to be on the other side over here. As well as they kind of left the Meteor Shower alone, but I'll kind of tell you what they did here, because they actually changed some of the abilities. I'll go back to it in 1 second. And then the Fireball, they moved all the way to the top as well. And on the bottom, they moved that Prophet of Fire Gun on the other side. So here's what they did that I find very, very interesting. On the Meteor of Shower, if you look on the original build, this used to be Immolation, which they put all the way on the bottom. The Immolation now is that it applies disease, reducing the incoming healing by 20% and the outgoing healing by 10%. Before immolation, the immolation they had just gave you 3% of your mana for each instance of damage dealt. So they changed the way that the immolation worked, and they moved it all the way at the bottom. They moved the fiery determination, which is the same as before. They all the way from the bottom, they moved to the top. They, from what I can see, the Judgment of Helios, they left alone. But very interesting that they changed the way the immolation works completely. Again, very interesting here on the Fire Mage. Going back to the Pyromancer. Pyromancer, they actually did quite a bit here as well. Again, going back, they kind of left the moves alone over here from what I can tell, but they actually changed how this works right here, this incarnation. Or incinerate, excuse me. So incinerate, if you look right here on Scorched. So that was the very first move, was Scorched, and what they have right now is that Incinerate inflicts the target with 12% weaken. On the old one, Scorched just added additional stacks of Smolder. Okay, so they added an actual target with weaken on there as well. On the second one, Cauterize Wounds, it cleansed 1 debuff. That's what they have it right now. It cleanses 1 debuff when hitting a target with Incinerate. Before, Cauterize Wounds, it restores 20% of damage dealt as health. And then finally, Flame Out, which gains a 3 in power. I think they actually left this one alone, yeah. So they completely redid this one, these 2 moves, which is very interesting for the Incinerate. Very, very interesting. From what I can tell, otherwise, all the other things they left alone in here, everything else seemed to be the same. But it seems that they redid the way the Incinerate will work, or at least the passives under it. Very interesting stuff. All right, going now with the Life Staff. They didn't really change too many things here. They just kind of moved things around. Like, for example, they put the Divine Embrace on the very top, and then they pushed the Scared or Sacred Ground one down. That's the only thing that I noticed. They changed everything else passive-wise. They're the same stuff. For the Protector, they didn't touch it at all. So again, not too much on the Life Staff. I'll put it on the screen for you guys to see, but again, from what I see, they did not touch Life Staff. Let's move on to the next one. All right, going over the bow as well. I did not see them pretty much do anything over here as well. They just moved a few things around. You know, for example, the evade shot in Skirmisher was on the very top. It got moved to the middle, and the rain of arrows, which was more like an AoE, it got moved to 1 down. But everything else in here seems to stay the same. And, you know, going over to the Hunter, they, again, didn't change anything. Everything stayed the same. I did go over all the passives. I did not see any difference, or I didn't catch it. I'll put it on the screen for you guys. But it looks like they didn't really touch, apart from moving a few things in Skirmisher. They didn't really touch anything on the bow side. Let's move on. All right, going over the Warhammer. Again, they didn't really change anything. I went over everything. It looks like they just moved a few things around. For example, the over here, the armor break got moved to the final top left side instead of Wrecking Ball, and Wrecking Ball got moved on the opposite side. They just kind of flip-flopped them. From what I can tell, again, they did not change anything in regards to what the actual thing does. For example, they did add, now that I actually noticed it, they did add one thing on the armor break. In the original, well, I guess it wouldn't really change if they just kind of moved it to the left. The armor break, this used to be just a longer line, and they put, yeah, so they didn't really change anything. They just kind of moved things around. On the Crowd Crusher, same thing. They just moved the Shockwave 1 up, and then everything else just kind of stayed where it was. Going on to one of my favorites is the Musket. There's actually 2 really notable changes in this one, and I'll go over here in a second. Let's stick with the Sharpshooter for one of them. As you can see, they kind of kept everything the same, except they actually changed how this move right here, Ignition, works. Originally, this was called Backdraft, and what it does is a standard musket shot deals 12% additional damage if they are burning, or if they're hit by a burning target. FYI, right? They changed it to Ignition. Standard martial shots deal 8% additional base damage, so they reduced it by 2%, FYI. And on the Trapper side, They did it even worse on the very bottom as well. Let's kind of go over it. The only thing that they did here was they took the salt of the wounds and they moved it towards the middle, and they pushed the stopping power all the way to the top and the trap to the middle. They left everything else the same. However, on the lethal combo, they changed. They actually reduced how much it does. Is from what I can see, they are reducing the damage output of the musket. Before, the lethal combo used to be increases musket damage by 20% against targets affected by a musket debuff. Currently in the game is 17%. So they reduced it by 3% here. Again, I'll double check the math and see if it's going to affect my personal build in the actual game. But it seems that they reduced a few of from here and what it was over there. Interesting stuff. Again, I will double check and I'll let you guys know in the comments if this is going to affect my build in any way. But 3% here and 2% or 4% on the ignition backdraft that they reduced. So they're definitely nerfing the musket just a little bit. Let's move on to the next one. Going on the hatchet. Now the hatchet, from what I saw, they did actually not change a single thing on here. Everything is where it was. All the passives do the exact same thing like they did before. So again, hatchet, as far as I can tell, they did 0 changes from the live game to what is in the beta right now. Let's move on. All right, going for the Blunderbuss. And again, I went over everything. They did not change anything in terms of how it works. They just flipped on the containment. They put the net shot on the far left side, and they moved the sharpener blast all the way to the right, and they moved it one down. So I think they want you to start with a net shot. That is the only thing that I saw that did different. All the other passives and everything here was the same in containment. In chaos, it looks like they didn't change anything. Everything here is the same, all the passives and everything else. As far as I can see, they did not touch the Blunderbuss much at all, apart from flipping these two over and moving one up and one down. Let's move on. All right, going to the Great Axe, and like again, it looks like they didn't touch any of the stuff in here. They just moved a few things around. For example, in the Reaper, they moved the Reap all the way to the top, and the Execute, they moved it 2 down as one of the later moves that you can get in this tree. All the passives and everything else looks the same. They did move the feed over to the left, and they also moved the executioner speed all the way to the right. But again, they all do the same thing on the Reaper side. They just moved them here and there. Same thing on the Mauler side. They moved the Whirlwind 1 down, but all the passes are the same, and they moved the Maelstrom all the way to the top. Everything else, like I said, all the passes are the same. Everything's the same amount of damage. It looks like they didn't really change anything on the Great Axe. They just moved a few things up and down to fit the tree a little bit better, if you will. Let's move on. All right, and then going over the Ice Gauntlet, again, I did notice one nerf and one funny thing they messed up on. Hopefully they change it before the beta is over. But they did. I do not play the Ice Gauntlet again, so I do not know if this is going to be a big deal, but there is a small nerf to here. So really quick, going on the left side, if you look at the wind chill, it says right there in parentheses, which is pretty funny. Base damage increased by 25% when using wind chill against hostile AI targets. Now, I don't know if they meant to include that in there or whatever, but I hopefully they fixed that, because I don't think this was part of it before. So I think they added this, the base damage increased part when against hostile AI targets, which is like NPCs, I guess. So hopefully, again, they fixed that, they changed it up a little bit, but yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. The one nerf, and again, everything else kind of stayed the same from where it was. They just moved a few things around here and there, but honestly, everything else stays the same. The one thing, again, for the spiky reach, they just put it aside. You still have the option for it if you want it or not. The one thing that I did notice is this passive right here called Critical Rejuvenation. Now, in the original, it said you would gain 15 mana whenever you critically hit a target. Okay, on this one, they changed how that works. You restore 10% of your max mana whenever you critically hit a target. Then the second part being that you restore 5% of your max mana when you hit a target with a heavy attack. So they reduced it from the critical from 15 to 10 and added that heavy attack option. Now, again, I do not play the Ice Gauntlet. I don't know if this is going to be a big change or not, but they definitely did reduce this just a little bit. So that's it for the Ice Gauntlet. Let's move on to the next one. Again, for the builder, just FYI really quick, I didn't see any changes whatsoever. They didn't even move anything around. This whole stay the same. So let's move on to the next one. All right, guys, let's go over the Void Gauntlet. Again, from what I can tell, the only passively changed one passive ability. Everything else has stayed the same. The Annihilation, and yes, I know, going back, I could have worded that differently, but again, I'm trying to get that through the video. So the Annihilation and Decay both stayed the same, from what I could tell. All the passives do the same things, all the moves do the same amount. The only thing they changed is the Forsaken Pact, which is right here. The Forsaken Pact at the very top. The only thing that it had before was the very top part where the 10% damage increase while above 50% mana. They used to have that before. It used to be 10% more damage while below 50% mana. So now they're kind of giving you both of them, right? If you're above 50, you do 10% damage. If you're below 50, they made it where your heavy attacks will restore 5% of your mana. Max mana on hit, and you can trigger this every half second. So again, I do not play the Gauntlet, guys, or the Void Gauntlet here. Let me know in the comments if you do, how big of an impact this is. From what I can tell, it seems to be a good update, right? You get a 10% damage while maintaining that 50% plus mana. If you're below, you get that rejuvenation of it, going with heavy attacks. Again, let me know in the comments what you guys think. And we only have one weapon left, so let's go over the Spear and talk about it. All right, and finishing things off with Spear. Now, Spear is my favorite weapon in the game. Is the one that I've used the longest. I've played it for 6 months, if not more, just on the Spear, as I really, really enjoyed the gameplay of it. I thought the movement was fantastic, and it just kind of made you enjoy the game even more. Thank God they didn't do anything different on the Spear. From what I can tell, they left everything the same. They just moved a few things around. For example, the Cyclone got moved 2 down, while the Javelin throw got moved up. The really cool thing here is I think they added, it's supported by SmartCast. That's when you target. So I'm actually have a video on this. It's pretty overpowered right now. It's your middle button. If you're playing computer, it's your target lock on. It's hard to miss with that, I'll be honest. So this is supported by that. But again, it did not change what it does and all that stuff. Everything else seems to be the same. I did not see anything else they changed, the Zoner or the Impaler. Everything else is the same. The Vault Kick is my favorite move in this game, and they did not change any of it or the passives, thank God. So again, for the Spear, finishing things off, they did not change anything here. They just moved a few things in the Zoner up and down, that mainly being the Javelin throw and the Cyclone. That is it for the weapons. That is all the changes that I've noticed that it did, which was quite a few of them, if I'm being honest. Again, feel free to, in the comments, to let me know what you guys think. Again, I want to thank you guys for watching. I know it's a longer video, but definitely some changes coming to New World, which is gonna, with so many people playing, I think it's gonna be a great thing. Again, please feel free to comment, subscribe, and like, and let me know what you guys think about the video, and especially the changes that we're seeing. I want to again thank you one more time for watching. Take care of yourselves, guys, and I will see you in game in a couple of weeks. Take care, everybody.